I'll stand in the back.
Well, here, you go in front. I'll go in.
I'm a karate man. You want to wrestle me down?
Yeah, that's what I want.
Okay.
Alright. Today, my guest is Charles Asher.
Also known as Moby.
Also known as Moby. First I want to tell you this because this is interesting. I mean, long ago, I think when I was exploring the topic of transgender and looking for people that I could relate to and that sort of thing, you know, on YouTube, you were the first person I discovered, and I loved your videos. I've been a fan for a long time. I think you were really one of the strong pioneers. Is that true on the YouTube?
I think, I don't know if I was a pioneer, but I think I was putting some stuff.
You don't
on
think
there.
you were one of the founding fathers?
I might be the
transmen?
OG vlogger of the. No, I don't know. I think I don't know. I've been vlogging for 7 years. So
7 years.
I think so.
And how long have you been on testosterone transitioning?
7.5.
7.5 years. And that's one thing I noticed. You know, a lot of people, when I was starting to look at YouTube videos, were trans men documenting their transition, and you know, it was the whole 1 month update, 2 month update, 3 month, and you were a vlogger who was, to me, you know, you looked well into, passing and being read as male.
Yeah, I kind of wish like I had
Yeah.
vlogged that because. Like,
it's interesting.
Honestly, like where I met my roommate, where I currently live, the guy I got my surgery with, or like a lot of my kind of friends I've transitioned with, we met on LiveJournal.
Yeah.
Before like YouTube was even kind of, I know, LiveJournal, the FTM community.
Interesting.
We actually met in the Starting T community. So I was already into transition. I think like maybe a year. I mean, I think I even had surgery at that point, but I was just making videos to put on my LiveJournal because it's easy sometimes just to say it. And, you know, and I was studying documentary film, so.
So it's kind of like a lucky fluke that you're on YouTube,
right?
And that took off quite a bit more.
I was realizing like I'm getting comments on these videos, like on my shots and stuff. So I first just started filming my shots, like, and then people were searching and finding it, either mistaking me for a bodybuilder or they would actually get that I was trans.
Yeah.
But, and then suddenly I was like, well, maybe I'll just kind of move on to YouTube. Like this is kind of.
Were you nervous being exposed like that?
It was a little weird, and actually it's more weird for me now because I didn't think anyone from my past would ever find them. I gear these towards the trans community, and now I kind of realize my audience is not just transgender people. It's straight people that want to like learn, or you know,
and that's
like
cool.
Or gay men that are interested in trans guys. It's really actually interesting, the demographics of how my audience has changed. But I was like, and I just forgot where my thought is going. Oh, being comfortable making vlogs. I didn't think people like that I went to high school or middle school with like would be watching these kind of intimate things, me talking about my body. So that's why I've almost kind of been less personal with my stuff and try not to. I don't know, because it is really weird. People from my high school have watched, you know, all of my every single video, and I'm like, oh, that's so weird for them to hear about my mom who taught them, or you know, it's really personal too. And also, my mom doesn't want me to get too personal because of that whole community. It's like I went to the school she taught at. It gets a little bit. And
that's one of the catches of being
so
almost
public,
you know, you're public, you're on the internet, but at the same time, part of you wants to stay stealth or protect a certain part of your privacy and identity, and I always assume like, oh yeah, no one that I know is going to see these videos, which is funny and ridiculous.
Because they do, and they find it. But I've actually only had really positive feedback from people that I would never.
That's the other thing is with being honest and being open and making these videos in which you find yourself kind of comfortably talking to strangers, the people that know you see this comfortable aspect of yourself and really are moved by that, and that's cool. So it's even like when you worry, you end up benefiting.
Right, like the things that they say, I'm like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. But then I'm like, you know, they were cool and it was awesome. And I've actually connected with more people, like people that I never talked to in high school that maybe had like a math class with. They wrote me messages like, oh my gosh, I saw your videos. It's awesome. And it's like, this is cool. I have a new friend out of it. You know, like I used to think like, oh my God, these people are going to freak out. I'm never going to be able to tell my parents, you know, I'm going to have to move far away. And they're fine. And I think you mentioned in a video, like reactions generally like aren't as bad all the time as we think they're going to be. Like, oh my God, coming out to people. Like you mentioned, like you get so nervous, but it's like, I was going to actually make a video on that. Like, it's really usually not as bad as you think, and if you're honest stuff, people appreciate that and can really respond well to that. Yeah,
that's a beautiful truth. I mean, the truth is that people understand when you're talking from the heart.
Yeah, when you're being vulnerable and you're putting yourself out there, and because I think that's hard for a lot of people. We really bare our souls, you know, and they can connect with that, and So
and the people close to us don't really want to be mean. I mean,
they
don't want to, even if they're shocked or surprised or have a reaction.
And they want to learn. I realize, and it's kind of a thing. Like people kind of. They find it interesting.
And you've been living like this for a long time. How often do you find yourself disclosing that you're transgender to people?
When I become good friends with someone, I mean, it's just something that I feel they should know. It's a big part of me. Yeah, it's weird to me to kind of make up this history because as society's more accepting, it's like, whatever, I was a girl. Like, okay, that was when I was a girl drummer, whatever, you know. Like, I'm really comfortable with it. And it took a lot of work to be, because there was a time in my transition where I was like, I want to block that out. I'm only a guy. I'm this hetero dude that, you know, is just, and it's so stupid. Then I moved to San Francisco and I was like, nope, I'm queer as fuck. You know, so yeah, starting to transition in the South, there's not many different examples of masculinity, which if you're a good old boy, great, but that wasn't me, and I was like, oh, I don't have to like put this pressure on myself to be like a cis man, because you can check off every box, you can have every surgery, and you're not going to be, and I'm like, no, I embrace it, whatever. It's not always easy, there's a lot of pain involved too, and I still get lower dysphoria or whatever, but it's like, no, you know, it's who I am, so I don't want to.
That's great, and it takes time to get there, and
no, it's not, you know, we say it like, oh, no, it took me, like, I actively resisted accepting the fact that I would never have, like, a functioning penis as a man would, and that sucks, to, like, I did not want to be like, because, I was like, no, I'm not, you know,
a lot of
like, that fucking sucks, and to have a brother and see him, you know, be able, I'm like, oh, it's tough, you know,
being 7 years into transition, you know, a lot of people worry about, you know, health problems that develop later, or, you know, what happens because there's not a lot of research on, you know, long-term studies of transition. What have you discovered or realized, if anything?
I, you know, have kept up with the doctor as far as I know. You know, my blood work is all good. The only thing is I'm losing my hair. I hear a lot of guys get like high red blood cell counts, and you can donate blood to get, you know, kind of your blood count. A lot of guys do that, but I personally haven't experienced anything. I've, you know, I have, you know, they're worried you get cancer or whatever, but I've just been keeping up with my health, and so far so good. Doesn't mean it wouldn't necessarily happen, but I think...
Yeah, because that's something I always wonder when I'm talking to, you know, people who have been there longer, kind of forging the way. So
one thing is, I have not had a hysterectomy, and I still get, like, cramps every month. I mean, I've never bled, but I talked to this doctor in San Francisco that was, you know, she mainly treats trans patients. She said, like, 10% of FTMs do that, and I thought, I'm like, I don't know where you got this 10%, but it's especially interesting, like, when I was, you know, living with girlfriends, like, I knew when they'd have their period, because we'd cycle the same time, and I'm starting to get on one of my roommate cycles, which is, and she's like, it's so interesting because you cramp and don't bleed. So that's one thing, and I'm like, oh, I'd like a histo because I don't want this to be happening.
That sounds like a good idea.
If I could,
How interesting. I wonder who else is out of the. Is there more of the 10% out there? Because
right. I'm like, I don't know where you got that number, but it's good to know that I'm not alone.
That's a really good piece of information. So I'm definitely gonna keep that on the video. But all right. Well, thank you so much for letting me meet you in person, and this is like a extremely special time.
Well, I mean, I really enjoy your videos as well.